right, there's some Pittsburgh Steelers news that has come out recently that a lot of people have had a massive reaction to. I think a lot of it concerning for fans of the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think there's a hidden move behind this report that I think a lot of people are missing. Let's get into the news, then we'll talk in detail about it on the other side. This is according to Bleacher Report. All right, the Pittsburgh Steelers are reportedly not looking to sign a veteran quarterback to start over Kenny Pickett next season. According to Gary Dulock of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, the Steelers want to give Pickett one more season to see if he can establish himself as a long-term starter, and they don't want to disrupt it by creating a quarterback controversy. Per Dulac, that likely means the Steelers won't pursue Kirk Cousins of free agency or a trade for Chicago Bears quarterback Justin Fields. They reportedly also aren't likely to trade for Denver Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson or sign him should the Broncos cut him. Now, the timing of this news is very interesting because there's been other reports leaning the other way for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I know, Myers, you've got some thoughts on this and what it really means. It's a little different than what the headline is saying. But first, Steelers fans in the comment section below, look, obviously this report maybe brings up some emotions either way, but in the comment section below, what do you think the Steelers should do at quarterback? Really curious to hear what you guys say. Do you believe Kenny Pickett deserves another year? Should they trade for a certain guy, maybe draft a guy? Whatever it is, give us what you think the Steelers need to do at the quarterback position in the comment section below. But Miles, break down what you think this report means and really reading between the lines here.
Yeah, Nick, when you look at this report, like you said, the timing is interesting. And I want to bring up another team that does this kind of thing all the time when you think about the Chicago Bears. And the Bears and the Steelers situations are very different, but they're very similar. First of all, the Bears, they have all of the power in the world as far as negotiating power. They have Justin Fields, who they can sit on and potentially trade to a team, much like the Steelers is an option for that trade. And they have number one overall pick and another high draft pick as well. So they could go draft a quarterback, they could trade Fields, they could trade their pick. There's a lot of different things that the Bears could do. On the other hand, the Steelers don't have as many options as far as the Bears do. So what is one thing they have in terms of negotiating power? Justin Fields linked to the Steelers many ways, and the Steelers pretty much are at the point where the Bears can be like, all right, we're going to name the price, unless the Steelers come out with a little bit of a smokescreen and a story and say, all right, we don't want any new quarterbacks. We're going to, new offensive coordinator, new team. We're all going to go and just see how it rolls with the guys we got. We trust our guys, which is very interesting because before this, they've been saying how they don't necessarily trust their guys. They are looking for somebody to take over the future of this franchise. And Kenny Pickett, he's shown what he's done. Mason Rudolph, I think he's okay, but he's not fantastic. He's not like any of the options named in the article. I think this timing is just too good, and it looks like the Pittsburgh Steelers' Omar Khan, who's a very good GM, is getting from the school of Ryan Poles as far as throwing out multiple smoke screens to try to throw people off the scent and try to get them to some negotiating power back in the quarterback conversation. That's what I think this is, and think it's a very, very smart move by the Steelers and GM Omar Khan.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is one of these reports, right, where it's sort of like one of those, according to, the reporter, the journalist will say, according to sources familiar with the matter or according to sources that would prefer to remain anonymous. Notice how Mike Tomlin isn't quoted. Notice how Rooney isn't quoted. Notice how Omar Khan isn't quoted, right? It's just reportedly they've decided all of a sudden, right, we're going to stick with Kenny Pickett. And I think that's the timing of it. And going into the smokescreen angle, I think that's exactly what it is. You brought up a great point about negotiating power, because I guarantee you any team that was looking to trade a quarterback to the Pittsburgh Steelers, whoever it was, whether it was the Bears with Fields, the Broncos with Wilson, or a free agent guy, right? Everyone was now behind the scenes sitting there and saying, hey, we can control the entire pricing of this, right? You want Justin Fields, you're going to have to give us a lot. And I guarantee you the Steelers front office and Omar Khan are like, all right, we're in a bad position negotiating wise. So you know what? We'll just throw it out there and let it sit and say, hey, maybe we'll stick with Kenny Pickett. You don't know. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We tend to hold on to offensive guys, namely offensive coordinators, probably like 5 years longer than we probably should have. We may do it with Kenny Pickett right here. And I think that's a really smart decision because at this point in the offseason, it's all about figuring out how to make these deals work in terms of the final price, right? We're in the negotiation phase for a lot of these big time deals now that we're after the Super Bowl, these few weeks before free agency officially kicks off. And the Steelers really smartly understood that everybody in the football world was like, oh, they're going to go get a veteran quarterback, undeniably. Maybe they'll trade up in the draft and draft a quarterback potentially too, even though I think they should do that, even though I think that's less likely. And I think at that point, the Steelers were like, we have no leverage here. And we're not going to give up like a first and a third for Justin Fields or something like that. We're not going to sign Kirk Cousins to the biggest deal in human history. We're not going to give up 2 firsts for Russell Wilson or something bonkers like that. We need to reclaim some of our negotiating power. And the one way you can do that is throw a message out there to the rest of the NFL and say, yeah, you know what? We've decided we don't like Russell Wilson anymore. We don't like Justin Fields anymore. We really like Kenny Pickett. And I guarantee you, because of the way the Pittsburgh Steelers do things, this is the weird thing, right? Because they stuck with Matt Canada so long, because this report came out, I guarantee you these GMs are now going like, they did stick with Matt Canada for a really long time. It's very possible they actually might stick with Kenny Pickett here. Maybe we should lower our asking price. And I think this is a smart move by the Pittsburgh Steelers, again, planting that seed of doubt in this negotiation phase.
Exactly. And I think the point you bring up about the plausible deniability from the Steelers are like, well, we have a hit. First of all, the Steelers have shown they are changing now. We, as people who follow the Steelers very closely, know, well, they did move on from offensive coordinator. They did get some guys from outside of the organization, which doesn't usually happen, bringing in Arthur Smith as new offensive coordinator. They did do a lot of changes this offseason to get the ball rolling in the right direction. We know that they're changing, but other teams look at that, like you said, and they just think, well, typically, the Steelers have only had like 3 coaches in their lifetime. They stick with this offensive coordinator for so long. Maybe they did want to stick with Kenny Pickett. Maybe we should probably, like you said, that's a way for the Steelers to get these negotiations rolling. Well, you might want to stick with Kenny Pickett, but now we're only going to ask for a first for Justin Fields, not a first and a third. Maybe we'll take a second and third. Who knows? So I think this is a really smart move by the Steelers. And the point you bring up about just their plausible deniability of, we have done this in the past, so what's to tell you we won't do it in the future, I think really bodes well for Amar Khan and co. by making this move and just showing that they are now back in power as far as the negotiations go.
And again, just one final point. I think there's a 99% chance, and Miles, I'm sure you agree, that Kenny Pickett is not the only quarterback, only viable starter on the roster come 2024 regular season time. They will definitely add a quarterback, whether it's free agency, trade, or draft. That's almost a guarantee. But the one way they can win in this situation is plant that little seed of doubt. And I love that Omar Khan is doing it. That's next level thinking that the Steelers have kind of missed at times. And I'm really excited to see how it works out for Pittsburgh down the stretch here.